Bienvenidos! Welcome to Spain on a Fork. Today we have such a great show. We're making a 2-course Spanish meal and we're going to pair each dish with a beautiful Spanish wine from the wine region of Cariñena. Anyways, for the first dish, which you can serve either as a first course or even a side dish, we're making roasted potatoes with a smoky Spanish tomato sauce. And for the second dish, which is the main entree, we're making Spanish cod with vegetables, which is known here in Spain as bacalao al cilindrón, folks. Both of these recipes are super easy to make and they're loaded with Spanish flavors. You'll find a link where you can get the 2 wines that I'm going to pair with these Spanish dishes. They're sold together as a bundle that's called Alegría Cariñena in the description box below. For our first recipe, which you can either serve as a first course or even a side dish, we're making roasted potatoes with a smoky Spanish tomato sauce. This dish is so easy to make and it's filled with so many great flavors. But the best part, it's going to work perfectly with the wine we're pairing it with, which is from Bodega San Valero. This is their Celebrities Old Wine Garnacha 2016. This is a very bold wine and it's going to stand up perfectly next to that smoky tomato sauce. Let's begin by cutting 3 medium-sized potatoes. These have already been washed and patted dry, each one into small pieces that are 1/2 inch thick, which is about 1.25 centimeters. And as you're cutting your potatoes, transfer them into a large bowl. Once all the potatoes are cut and into the bowl, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. This is 30 milliliters. And we'll season the potatoes with sea salt and freshly cracked black pepper. And we're going to toss this together. That way that olive oil and those seasonings are evenly coating each piece of potato. Then we'll add our potatoes into a baking tray that's lined with parchment paper. And make sure all the potatoes are in a single layer, that way they all evenly roast. And we're going to add our potatoes into a preheated oven. I've had it preheating for about 20 minutes. Bake and broil option, that's the bottom and top heat, 210 degrees Celsius, which is 410 degrees Fahrenheit. While our potatoes are roasting in the oven, let's make our smoky Spanish tomato sauce. I'm going to grab a fry pan, heat it with a medium heat, and add in 2 tablespoons, which is 30 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil. After heating the olive oil for 2 minutes on a medium heat, I'm going to add in 1/2 of an onion that I finely diced, 1/2 of a green bell pepper that I finely chopped, and 3 cloves of garlic that I roughly minced. And we'll start mixing the vegetables around with that olive oil. I like to mix this continuously, that way the veggies don't burn and they all evenly saute. After about 4 minutes, and the onion is nice and translucent and the bell pepper and garlic developing a light golden fried color, you don't want to brown them too much. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of sweet smoked Spanish paprika. This is 2.30 grams. And we'll give this a quick mix. That way that paprika is evenly coating all the vegetables. And like I always tell you, when you add in paprika into a hot pan, you want to mix it in there quickly, otherwise it easily gets a bitter flavor. Then we'll add in a generous cup of tomato sauce, which is about 250 grams. Now the tomato sauce I'm using, I made it by finely grating fresh tomatoes, but you can also use canned tomato sauce here. And we'll season everything with sea salt and freshly cracked black pepper. And we'll give this one final mix, that way all the ingredients are evenly mixed together. Then we'll lower the fire from a medium heat to a low medium heat. And we're going to let this simmer here on a low medium heat until our potatoes are roasted. Okay, let's move back to our potatoes. They've been roasting in the oven between 26 to 28 minutes and they should be perfectly cooked. I'm going to take these out of the oven and set them aside. Now we'll move back to our tomato sauce that's been simmering on a low-medium heat. As you can see, it's really thickened up and this is ready to go. I'm going to turn off the heat in the pan, add the roasted potatoes into the pan, and we'll gently mix this together until each piece of potato is coated in that beautiful smoky tomato sauce. Then we'll transfer our potatoes into a serving dish. And we'll sprinkle it with some freshly chopped parsley. Our first recipe's done, roasted potatoes with a smoky Spanish tomato sauce. You saw how easy it was to put this together, and it's got a beautiful presentation. Once again, we're gonna pair this with a wine from Bodega San Valero, their celebrities, Old Vine Garnacha 2016. These two together, it's gonna be an absolute flavor bomb. Let's give it all a try and see how it tastes. These potatoes came out looking so good. Here we go. First things first, the potatoes just kind of melt in your mouth in that Spanish smoky tomato sauce. It has such an incredible flavor. Now let's try it with the wine. Salud. What a beautiful garnacha, but most importantly, it pairs perfectly with the potatoes and that smoky Spanish tomato sauce put together. It's an explosion of goodness. Wow, this is such a great start to our meal. All right, let's move on to the next recipe. For our second dish, which is the main course, we're making a Spanish cod dish that hails from the same place these wines are from, the region of Aragon. This is known as bacalao al chilindron, and let me tell you, it has so many incredible depths of flavors to it, and it's super easy to put together. We're gonna be pairing this with a wine from Bodegas Grandes Vinos. This is their Monasterio de las Viñas Reserva 2015. This is truly one of the best wines I've ever tasted, and it truly complements this cod dish. Let's begin by grabbing a large fry pan, heating it with a medium to medium-high heat, and adding in 2 tablespoons, which is 30 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil. After heating the olive oil for about 2 minutes, I'm gonna add in half of an onion that I thinly sliced, and 3 cloves of garlic that I thinly sliced. And I'm gonna start mixing the onion and the garlic around with that olive oil, just like in the first recipe. I always like to mix these ingredients around continuously, that way they don't burn and they all evenly saute. After about 3 minutes, and the onion is nice and translucent, and the garlic developing a light golden fried color, I'm gonna add in half of a green and half of a red bell pepper that I cut into thin strips that are about 2 inches long, which is about 5 centimeters. And continue to mix these vegetables around with that olive oil. We're gonna go between 4 to 5 minutes here, or until these vegetables are lightly sauteed. About 4 minutes after adding the bell peppers into the pan and they're lightly sauteed, you don't want to brown them, I'm going to add in 1 tomato that I finely grated, along with half a teaspoon of dried thyme, which is about 0.45 grams, and season everything with sea salt and freshly cracked black pepper. And we'll continue to mix these ingredients around. We're gonna go for about 30 to 60 seconds here, or until that grated tomato has really thickened up. After about a minute, and as you can see that grated tomato has really thickened up, I'm gonna add in half a cup of white wine. This is 118 milliliters. If white wine is not your thing, you can use broth instead. And we'll also add in 1 bay leaf. And we'll give this a quick mix, and we're gonna simmer this for a couple minutes or until that wine has reduced in half. While our vegetables are cooking in that white wine, I'm gonna grab a piece of cod and pat it down with some paper towels. This is 390 grams, which is about 14 ounces. Now the cod I'm using about frozen and thawed out just to make things cheaper, but if you prefer, you can use fresh cod here, as well as any other type of white flesh fish. Then I'm going to cut the cod into 2 evenly sized fillets and season them with sea salt and black pepper just on one side. Now we'll move back to the vegetables. This has been simmering for about 3 minutes, and as you can see, that wine has reduced by more than half. At this point, I'm going to add in the fillets of cod into the pan, place a lid over the pan, and lower the fire to a low-medium heat. And we're going to cook this between 4 to 5 minutes. This is enough time for all these flavors to come together and for that cod to be perfectly cooked. After about 5 minutes, the cod should be perfectly cooked. You don't want to overcook it, otherwise it gets a tough texture to it. I'm going to remove the lid from the pan. And look how beautiful this turned out. I'm going to gently flip the fillets of cod. That way that sauce is evenly coating the fillets. Then we'll remove the pan from the heat. I'm going to grab some of the vegetables and add them into a serving dish. We'll place one of the cod fillets over the vegetables and sprinkle it with some freshly chopped parsley. Our second dish is done, bacalao al cilindrón, an incredible Spanish cod dish, very easy to put together, and the flavors are mind-blowing delicious. Once again, we're gonna pair this with a wine from Bodegas Grandes Vinos, their Monasterio de las Viñas Reserva 2015. These two together, it's gonna be an absolute wonder of flavors. Let's give it all a try and see how it tastes. Bacalao al cilindrón. Here we go. Bravo. So many beautiful flavors. Most importantly is that cod is perfectly cooked. Nothing worse than overcooked fish. It has a rubbery texture to it, and all those vegetables with the sauce. It's an incredible amount of flavor. Now let's try it with the wine. Here we go. Salud. This is one of my favorite wines. It's got so many depths of flavors to it, and that's why it pairs perfectly with this bacalao al cilindrón together. It's an amount of flavors in the palate that I just cannot describe. You saw this, an incredible Spanish 2-course meal paired with 2 beautiful Spanish wines from the wine region of Cariñena. Once again, you'll find a link where you can get those wines in the description box below. Really quick before I go, a shout out to a couple of my patrons, Kim Hems and Billy Tester. Again, guys, thank you so much for being patrons of Spain on a Fork. You know how much I appreciate you. For the rest of you, if you're not with me on Patreon, consider becoming one. It helps with ingredients and equipment to continue making videos like this. You'll find my Patreon link in the description box below and iCard above. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, leave me a comment below, and if you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button. Till the next time, hasta luego.